Hello guys, it's me here. So today I'm going to do a review that no one has ever made a review on, or a monster that no one has reviewed, and also no one doesn't know too much about because it's not as well known, although he does have something that is quite well known, and you'll see about it maybe right now. It's the AliExpress, or it's a, I'm not going to, never mind, sorry, what I was trying to say was that it's a choju that is from a guy called Yapul, and he is from Ultraman Ace, and he's a choju, and he may not be as infamous, but he does have a roar that is infamous. So yeah, let's get started, and here it is. The choju brocken from Ultraman Ace, and like I said, a choju from the Ace series. Okay, so basically this monster is, like I said in the previous video, is a choju, even though he doesn't look like much. He is a choju because he has powers that are quite strong, and I sometimes call it industrial. But before I talk about his history, we're gonna just cut the tag first. So yeah, so you basically gotta cut it off like this. I'll be back. Okay, there we go. I cut it off now, so here's the tag. It's actually a pretty cool tag. It's not really like, I mean, it kind of is like the other Bandai ones, because it actually explains what the monster is really about. However, if you translate it, it doesn't make too much sense, but it does get close though. For some reason, he says that it's 65 meters, but he's actually 63. I don't remember the tongues of him, like how much he weighs, but it's okay. I recommend googling it in the Wikipedia, but he is 63 meters tall, although it says 65, like if he's Vacuum, but they got it wrong. Because this is like it's from AliExpress, so sometimes AliExpress gets things wrong. And actually the warning labels, when I translated it, it was actually kind of funny, but was kind of serious, so yeah. So here's a tag. It has a picture of the figure, and that's Ultraman Ace. I don't know if this really has a company name, but I just call it AliExpress Brocken. And here's the pictures of what he looks like. Kind of scary looking because he looks like a, some people say he looks like a Dodongo or a Jumbo King, but with creepy hands that look like faces. It's hard to see, but he does have like teeth. See? And has eyes as well. You won't see it on the toy because it's not painted, but we'll get to there. It's also a, what I call a booklet tag because it opens, but there's not really that much interesting here, so yeah, it just says it's for ages 3 and up or whatever. But yeah, let's look at the monster itself. And actually, the subtitle name I forgot to mention is known as the Transforming Terrible Monster, which I forgot to mention, terrible monsters are actually stronger than regular monsters. However, the monsters in Ultraman Taro became stronger when they showed the part with Astromons and Oil Drinker, but I don't have them though. But yeah, Transformers, monsters in disguise. Just kidding, because it's, well, I say this because he's known as the Transforming Monster. So yeah, I forgot to mention that this monster is a mix between, he looks like a horse, but he's actually a mix between a crocodile and a space monster, and I think the space monster gave him these weird looks. But yeah, we're gonna mention the history later about him and what he is. And if you're wondering why I said he was infamous one time, was because his roar was actually Titanosaurus's roar. It was, at first the roar was modified elephant trumpets, like the elephant trumpets were modified for this monster, but then they modified it even more for Titanosaurus, and I think it sounds a little bit more louder. But yeah, that's basically what made him infamous. But he's not too infamous, although he does have a wacky design though, because he looks more like a horse and he has hooves. But we're going to get onto the articulation, though, however. I'm going to put the tag away. I'm not going to throw it out. Don't throw out the tags. They're quite cool. The articulation is actually quite interesting, and I wasn't shocked about this. We're going to get onto his arms. His arms can rotate 360 degrees. His killer arms, or I should call them mouth hands. So it can go up and down. They actually shoot these lasers that are more like missile beams or whatever. I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, they do. Although, that's also why I call them industrial monsters, because they have parts that are, like, interesting. Like, they can shoot out missiles, fire streams that are not your ordinary, and other weird powers. Yeah, so you can have his arms like this, or pose them. You can do the famous part where he puts his arms like this, and then just fires out things. So, there you go. Now, it's kind of sad that his legs don't move, but that's okay. What does move, however, is his torso, which I find quite interesting, because I was like, why would his torso move, even though there's no need to? But even then, he doesn't look bad, and it's kind of hard to notice because of his scaly design, or his weird segmented design, or whatever. It has a tiny bit of, like, that caterpillar look, like the top of it, but whatever. What I find interesting, and I don't know why they move, is his horns. I don't exactly know why his horns would move. Like, in the show, his horns don't even move at all. They're just stand like this. But if you want to, you can like pose them to make it look more like a weird bull or something. But it's just best to keep it like this for now. And an interesting articulate that I find very nice are his whip tails, or his tentacle tails, which kind of remind me of twin tail, can rotate. However, due to their design, you actually have to like pull them in a way that it goes upwards, and then you can make it go around. So you can have it on the side like this, whatever. It's cool because these actually shoot out these bolt things, which is what he actually does, so that's nice. They gave the tail things those features. So that's very nice. But yeah, so I think in total that would be 7 points of articulation. I don't see any glue seals, so yeah. And just to let you know, he is a soft vinyl figure, but he's for some reason hard. He's more squishy when I squeeze him at the back. Look. It's gonna be hard to see. I don't know. The only part that I can squeeze, whatever. He is a soft vinyl though, so, you know, he does squeeze. See? Okay, whatever, I'm done. So, now for the details, we'll get onto the details right now, so, yeah. Now, since this is a toy, he's not gonna have too many details, but the details, though, aren't that terrible, although I would have wished a little bit better. I like how his triangular flap pattern things are painted gold, which is what his actual color is, even though he looks a little bit more brown, but he is supposed to be like a gold color, so that's nice. For some reason, his paint doesn't go all the way to his hands, and in real life, his hands would be, or hands should have been painted, because if you look carefully, you can actually see his teeth. See? I don't know if you can see, there's like these weird things. Can you see it on this side? Yeah, you can see it on this side. Yeah, they're literally mouths, as you can see. And in real life, it would have an eyeball as well, but it's not painted. I don't know why, but they also forgot to paint the hooves, or like the feet. But that's okay. I don't want to mess it up anyway, so it still looks okay. Even though it's not painted, it doesn't look too bad for a knockoff. I do like how they painted the weird dots, which is actually what it's supposed to have. The whips, for some reason, are not painted. They're like the same color, and the horns are not painted either. They're just white, but they are shaped properly, which is what I like. The teeth are sculpted in, but it's just a filling, unfortunately, and for some reason it's all black, so I'm not exactly sure why. Although his nostrils, how they carved it in, is actually quite accurate, because in the show, his nostrils actually shoot out twin fires. So yeah, so the detail on this is not terrible, although I would have wished more for a, you know, but it's a kid's toy, so it's not supposed to have too many details. It's not like a model or anything, so yeah. Okay, sorry guys, I forgot. Now let's get on to the history real quick, because it's like 10:36 minutes now in the video. So basically, he is a choju that was made from a guy called Yapul, who I believe has the same powers or similar powers as Satan. Although he looks more like a weird crab man thing or whatever. It kind of sounds like Yahoo, but it's Yapul. But anyways, yeah. So he's a choju that was a mix between a space monster and a crocodile, or he combined the two together. So it's actually quite interesting, because some monsters are actually made out of animals. And another interesting thing is that sometimes these creatures have, like, these monsters have powers to where they have something to do with humans. So yeah. Oh, what I forgot to mention was that, so basically he goes to Earth somehow after he was created inside of the Yapul's machine. It was kind of sad and cruel, but that's how Yapul is. He possessed a guy who claims to appeared in Ultraman Jack or Ultraman Taro, who had a son. The son noticed that the dude had like a mouth and hands, just like the creature does. And when he ran and when they saw, it sprayed a white gas at it. Not like in his form, but like on the human form. Eventually, when they found out the truth about the father, which I don't remember his name, he runs as fast as he can to a building and transforms into, well, this thing here, kind of like with all monsters. Don't forget about Vakashim, he also had the same thing, except it was because of Yapul, which we'll explain later. So he started to go on a rampage, and he was causing trouble, like how all chojus were doing. Some people say that he was the strongest one ever, but I think other ones were stronger, though. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah. He basically was going on a rampage. He exploded a oil refinery while they were running, and, you know, did a lot of bad issues. Eventually, Ultraman Ace came to the rescue and basically attacked them. However, their fight was actually interesting until he was using his laser, not lasers, but they were like these electrical bolts on his tentacles, which actually have eyes on the ends, and got electrocuted. Now, we've seen these words before, but there's a part where you see these weird languages, like, showing up in the screen. They think it was something weird with the monster, but it turned out to be an ultra sign. And eventually, he got encouraged, and he was able to get up on his feet. For some reason, there was an error to where his hand regrew back, even though there's a part where his hand gets cut off because he transforms, like the two, like the male and the female host. I forget their name. I think his name is Hokuto and Seiji, I forget. But they transform, and that's how his hand was cut off. But for some reason, it regrew back. And eventually, he used his guillotine, which somehow became, like, it multiplied and cut all the parts off of him. And it was quite graphic, but it wasn't bloody graphic. It looked like something from Mortal Kombat, and then exploded into pieces, like how all other ones do. The only cameo appearance he had was his roar, because eventually, I think it was 3 years later, I think in 1975, his roar was used for Titanosaurus, but it was modified. And that's how you got this roar here. Yeah. So, obviously, I'm not going to explain it because it was Titanosaurus, which is a different monster, but his roar was used for it. He does make, like, a cameo appearance on a demonic creature called Barudia or something, to where his body was part of it. but that's all his appearances. So he pretty much had one appearance for his own character. It would have been nice because he looks like a pretty cool monster, so that's kind of sad. But anyways, yeah, so that's the history for Brocken. He's a very interesting choju. He fires stuff out of his nose, shoots stuff out of his mouth hands. He has these things that just shoot out lightning bolts, which I thought possessed him, but it was just a shock. But yeah, so now onto the scaling. I have I don't have Ultraman Ace, but I do have Ultraman Jack, who was a year before Ace, and he actually did appear, but he was just a cameo because he was trying to encourage with the Ultra sign. Unfortunately, the scaling is not correct. He should actually be the same size, if not a little bit bigger, but at least he's smaller. If I compare him to the other one, if I compare him to Hayata, he's way taller. So, yeah, the sizing is not accurate, unfortunately. But, what can you do? If I got the other ones, it would have been worse. Let's compare him to a Godzilla. I have this very tiny one, who was from the 2014 series. Well, if you scale him to like 50 meters, he doesn't look too bad, but it depends on how much you scale him, because Godzilla can sometimes vary in sizes. Nowadays, he's like 100 meters tall. So, yeah. Here's another Godzilla, except this is like the Godzilla vs. Kong one. Oh my gosh. Sorry. Now, even though he should be bigger, if you compare him to like his actual size, which is like 100 meters, this actually is perfect, because in real life Godzilla is supposed to be taller than this monster. But yeah, it does go okay, so I wouldn't mind. However, it would have been nice if he was bigger, but this is okay size. It's not as bad as a Spark Doll. Spark Dolls are actually quite terrible. Let's compare him to, I don't want to use too many monsters, but let's just compare him to infamous ones like Red King. This is not very great. He may look a little bit bigger, but he's actually quite small. He's supposed to be taller, because he's 40 meters tall, but it didn't work. What about Gomorrah? Or Gamora? The sizing looks interesting. I think he should be a little bit bigger, but he does seem to be a little bit taller from like the head. So I think the scaling with Gomorrah is perfect, although I do think Gomorrah should be a little bit smaller. But this is interesting. You could have a Gomorrah fighting a Choju that transforms. Funny. Now this is not a toy, this was actually a model, but I thought about comparing it to a monster that has the similar design, Jumbo King. I think Jumbo King should be about a little bit bigger, but this is okay, because Jumbo King, despite his name, is actually 59 meters, and he is 60, so he's actually a lot taller. So, yeah. What about Ibria? Or a giant lobster creature? I don't know. I think he should be, like, the same size. What about a airplane? This is perfect. I think airplanes go good with it, especially a 747. That's nice. What about Sadora from Jack, or Return of Ultraman? I don't know. I think they're about the same size, but he looks to be a tiny bit bigger. I'm not so sure, but yeah, that's him. I gotta do this fast because the review is getting longer. Here's a building, just for purpose. He actually doesn't look too bad for a building, because he's 60 meters, and if you want a building that's like taller than that, he won't look so bad. Although I do think he should be bigger, but what can you do? I also have these knockoff Micro Machines and a Transformers Optimus Prime, just for comparison. Actually looks quite good. Even for the knockoff, because these were a knockoff, this one here is a knockoff of a Micro Machine that I had. Although I don't have it though, but I know it's a knockoff. What about these other vehicles I had, like this jet? Yeah, I think these jets are perfect. Oh yeah, they're a lot better. You know, perfect scaling. You can do like fun stuff with this if you wanted to. What about King Ghidorah? I don't remember the size of King Ghidorah, but if you want, this looks interesting as well. You could have a four-legged creature that's kind of like a jumbo size fight a three-headed Hydra thing or whatever it is. That looks cool. Or you could have him team up or whatever. What about Retasaurus from Ultraman Hayata or the other one? Nah, this is not very good. King Kong? Actually, it goes good because if you're using a 100-meter King Kong, this is perfect. King Kong versus Brocken. What about the Retasaurus, who is basically just an iguana, but I'm gonna use him as the Retasaurus? This is actually accurate because he is a big monster, but he's not as big as this, so I think that's accurate. What about a Kraken? Yeah, Kraken looks pretty good. What about a bridge? Hey, that's perfect, although he should be like maybe the same size, but it does look okay. What about a firehouse or a police department? Yeah, I think that looks good. Gas station, pretty good. Or a building. Actually, a building looks better. Yeah, this is quite perfect. So, yeah, I'm basically gonna, I do have to finish it though, but yeah. Oh, I forgot. If I still have time. Oh my gosh. Here's King Caesar. If you compare King Caesar for his like 70 meters tall, that's perfect. Or whatever. What about a generic Yeti who could be like, I don't know, Woo or something? I don't know. Maybe yes. Whatever. Another four-legged one I forgot was Paragon. Nah, this is not too good unless because he can mirage in different sizes. In real life, he's actually this big. So, yeah. I don't know what you're gonna do, but, yeah. What about the Tyrant that I'm gonna do a review on? Not very good. Tyrant is supposed to be a little bit lower than Brocken. What about Vakisham? Okay, for Vakisham, this is accurate, because in real life, Vakisham is supposed to be 65 meters. But yeah, Vakisham's size is fantastic. Okay guys, so for the video, I hope you enjoyed it. It was quite long, but anyways, thank you for watching this video. For the details or for the ratings, I would give this a 9 out of 10. The only reason for a 9 would be like this, well, it was gonna be an 8, but it's gonna be a 9. The 9 problem is the detail, but if you can get over that, he's basically a very nice figure and a very well-known Choju. I'm very in shock they had released this Choju because there's not too many other Chojus that are not so infamous as toys. Most of them are like from Marmots. But that's nice how they released them as a figure for kids to play. But yeah, I would give him a 9 out of 10. The articulation is nice. The paint job is okay, but it's a little bit half-assed because parts of it is not always painted, like his hands. But everything else does look good on him, so should I recommend this figure if you're a fan of him? Absolutely. If you think he's a very cool Choju that goes well with monsters with like crazy hands like the Sadora or Vakisham or any other monster that has hands that aren't even fingers, go ahead and pick him up. To me, I find him quite appealing for, you know, and if you're into those four-legged creatures like with Dodongo, he'll go great. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and goodbye. Yeah, goodbye, guys. Okay.